Most people believe loneliness on Valentine's Day is inevitable for the uncoupled, that the holiday simply amplifies an objective reality, that singles should simply endure this difficult day until it passes. That belief is quietly ensuring that your loneliness becomes more painful than necessary, more prolonged than natural, and more defining than transient. By the end of this video, you'll never experience Valentine's Day loneliness the same way again, whether you're single, recently separated, or coupled but feeling mysteriously isolated despite physical proximity to another person. If this feels familiar, you're not weak. You adapted to a world that conflates partnership with worth, that presents romantic love as completion, that surrounds you with images of coupled bliss precisely when your own solitude feels most acute. But adaptation without awareness becomes suffering multiplication. You've been told that loneliness is absence of others, that connection requires partnership, that this day simply reveals what is always true. So you brace for pain, endure the day, perhaps distract yourself or numb yourself or perform indifference. You feel the sharpness of contrast between your interior and the world's presentation, the exhaustion of managing your own visibility, the confusion of simultaneous desires for solitude and connection. You wonder why some singles seem unaffected, why your coupled friends report their own loneliness, why this particular day carries such disproportionate weight. You're not failing at singleness. You're experiencing a specific cultural phenomenon that few examine with sufficient compassion or insight. This is called scripted isolation amplification. Your brain evolved to seek belonging, to experience threat in exclusion, to regulate through social connection. Valentine's Day hijacks this system through temporal concentration, gathering all the year's romantic messaging into a single relentless exposure, creating comparison through visibility, demanding performance of happiness that makes any deviation feel like failure. Each image of coupled joy provides comparison point. Each social media post creates evidence of others' belonging. Each public display of affection becomes measure of your own absence. That's why you feel the day before the day arrives, why the week after remains colored by its passage, why you experience this specific loneliness as more defining than the ordinary solitude you navigate successfully throughout the year. And this is where most people make the mistake. They assume Valentine's Day loneliness indicates personal deficiency. They think the pain reveals failed relationship status rather than successful cultural manipulation. So they suffer the isolation as personal failure rather than collective phenomenon, adding self-blame to the loneliness that already exists. Notice what happens when you imagine Valentine's Day without the commercial and social scripting. Does the day itself carry weight, or does the weight come from what surrounds it? That imagination reveals everything. Weight inherent exposes genuine grief for connection desired. Weight added exposes the possibility that your suffering serves systems that profit from your sense of lack. Most people think loneliness on this day requires distraction or endurance. Psychologically, it invites examination and transformation. The noise of forced celebration is sometimes compensation for genuine isolation within relationship. The noise of performed indifference is sometimes protection from genuine desire. The silence of acknowledged loneliness is actually connection to the millions feeling similarly, to the universal human experience of wanting to belong, to the possibility that loneliness itself carries information about what you genuinely need. You don't need a partner. You need a different relationship with your own solitude. You are not incomplete. You are temporarily unaccompanied. Step 1. Recognize when you're multiplying your own suffering. Catch yourself anticipating pain, comparing systematically, believing that your loneliness on this day indicates something your loneliness on other days doesn't. Step 2. Replace endurance with examination. For this day, ask, what am I genuinely missing? Partnership specifically, or connection generally, or something else entirely? Then address that specifically, whether through friendship, creativity, nature, or genuine self-company. Step 3. Reinforce the identity. When loneliness arises, practice saying,
I am alone right now, not I am alone, not no one loves me. Temporal language. The unaccompanied person knows their state is current rather than defining. Most people will use this to justify isolation. They'll abandon all reaching out and call it self-sufficiency. That always backfires. True solitude requires connection. You seek others, you simply stop seeking partnership as the only form that counts. Withdrawal without discernment is just fear wearing independence. For the next 24 hours, do this one thing. Connect with one person, friend, family, stranger, in a way that has nothing to do with romance. Notice the loneliness shift. Stay with the connection, not to eliminate solitude, to become someone who knows its temporary nature rather than its defining power. Mastering Valentine's Day loneliness isn't about finding partnership. It's about becoming the person who neither needs this day to validate them, nor allows it to devastate them, who experiences loneliness as weather rather than climate, as information rather than identity, as invitation to specific connection rather than evidence of general unworthiness. When you choose examination over endurance, you give permission for everyone around you to do the same. Your solitude becomes bearable, your connections become genuine, your life becomes yours rather than scripted. People who understand this move differently. They feel loneliness without self-condemnation. They seek connection in multiple forms. They experience Valentine's Day as one day among many, rather than definitive judgment on their lives. Next time, we'll uncover the psychology of love on Valentine's Day, why this day transforms what we feel and how we express it. Until then, watch how your loneliness changes. Notice what happens when you stop enduring and start examining. That's the unaccompanied person emerging.